December of 2014, the U.S. Department of Justice issued a report describing a pattern and practice of misconduct in the Cleveland Police Department, including the excess use of force. In the spring of 2015, the city of Cleveland reached an agreement with the Department of Justice known as the Consent Decree. The Consent Decree is a commitment by the city and the Division of Police to work with the Department of Justice and the Cleveland community to transform our police department into a model of mutual trust and respect, with enhanced service, increased safety for both officers and residents, all within a framework of community-oriented policing. When the agreement was announced at a press conference, reporters had many questions, but the citizens of Cleveland had many more.
What's different this time?
Who's in charge of this?
What do they do? How long will it take?
And what difference would this make in my neighborhood?
Tough questions. Here are some straight answers. Earlier investigations by the Department of Justice found similar problems and formed an agreement with the city. However, the agreement was not overseen by a court and did not involve an independent monitor. The Consent Decree is under the jurisdiction of a federal judge, and a monitoring team has been appointed to oversee and assist in its implementation. The Consent Decree also requires the police department to create a new internal oversight function, a police inspector general. The Inspector General will be a civilian who will monitor and report on both individual incidents and the department-wide performance of officers. This agreement has teeth. We're trying not to make promises we can't keep, and we are making sure that the city and the police keep their promises about reforming the department. All of the required reforms will be developed by the Division of Police in partnership with the city, the Department of Justice, the Monitor, the Community Police Commission, and the wider Cleveland community. The Monitor is the agent to the federal court and judge who oversees the reforms. The Monitor does not work for the city or for the police department. The Monitor has hired a team of 19 nationally recognized law enforcement experts and local community representatives. The team evaluates all proposed police reforms and tells the court whether they are consistent with the requirements and goals of the Consent Decree. The team provides the police with technical advice and information about best practices, such as what has worked and not worked in other cities to address similar issues. The team also holds forums and meetings throughout Cleveland to make sure that the community is involved in all key aspects of reform. The Community Police Commission serves as a voice of the community to the reform process. It is comprised of residents from across Cleveland, as well as representatives from the city's 3 police unions. It meets regularly to seek input from individual residents to make recommendations on reform. Many individuals have already contributed their comments and ideas, and the monitoring team engages continually with a broad cross-section of the Cleveland community, from civil rights organizations and faith communities to public housing residents, social service agencies, and young people. We would like to hear from you too. The Consent Decree requires that all reforms be consistent with community values, so it is essential that all residents participate in the ongoing reforms. The agreement does not change the control and supervision of the police force. The mayor, the director of public safety, and the chief of police are still in charge. And ultimately, the Cleveland Police Department is responsible for putting the new policies and procedures into action. But it will be up to the federal court to decide whether the reforms meet the requirements of the Consent Decree. This year, we have been working to develop and implement policies to prevent the use of excessive force and to ensure that the police services are delivered free from bias. The CPD will also develop a comprehensive community policing plan to ensure that officers work in close partnership with the residents they serve. The process of real reform is hard work. The Consent Decree is not an on-off switch. It is a roadmap for reform. To travel that road, the Cleveland Police Department and the Cleveland community must have a strong relationship built on mutual trust. The provisions of the Consent Decree are designed to bolster this relationship and ensure that it endures. As U.S. District Judge Solomon Oliver said, a lot of this will be evolving, and we'll have to discuss things further. But let the word go forward that this judge thinks that this is a good agreement, a sound agreement. It is one that we ought to be happy to embrace and let Cleveland be a model in terms of how we carry this out.
Thanks. I appreciate your efforts.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I understand. Thanks for that. Gracias.
We're sure you have questions too, and concerns and ideas. We want to hear from you. Get informed, get engaged, get involved.